Okay, so we've got a good one for you today. Someone sent in this podcast. It's called Foul Play Ricky. And honestly, the description, it's like time travel, magic, noir detective work. Like, what even is this?
Sounds like someone threw a bunch of genres in a blender and hit pulse.
Seriously. So before we get lost in the sauce, what do we actually, have to go on with this one?
Well, the Apple Podcasts page for Foul Play Ricky seems like as good a place as any to start.
Okay, so just going off of that, we've got Foul Play Ricky. It's by, hold on, Generic Productions, running since 2020, 96 episodes. Wow, and it's marked explicit.
I gotta say, you've got my attention. Though 96 episodes, that's a long time for a comedy podcast to keep going.
That's true. For a comedy podcast to run that long, you figure there's a pretty dedicated fan base out there hanging on for every new episode. And speaking of things that make you wonder, that explicit tag, I mean, that could mean some pretty out there humor or, well, who knows? Maybe it's something else entirely. Color me intrigued. And you know how much I love a good mystery. Speaking of, we've got this listener review here, and I'm just going to say it's a doozy. So this is from, get this, James writing, and they're talking about this whole life-changing experience with, like, Petco, Tabasco sauce, yeah, you heard that right, and finding a newfound love for cleaning their bathroom, and it's all thanks to Foul Play Ricky. I don't even know where to start with that one.
That's quite the endorsement. I mean, whether that review is legit or just some elaborate joke, who knows? But it does make you think about what kind of impact this podcast could have, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if it's supposed to be totally absurd, it's still got people thinking about, like, finding meaning in the most random places, even cleaning a bathroom. Maybe that's what Foul Play Ricky's going for. Using absurdity to make you see things in a different light.
Yeah, it's like finding a 20 in your pocket, but instead of money, it's like existential enlightenment.
Right.
Okay, but get this, because it gets weirder. They call themselves the original true crime podcast. Unless I'm missing something, I'm pretty sure time-traveling detectives and magical creatures don't usually fall under the true crime umbrella.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? I mean, that's what's so interesting about this. It's like they're playing with the whole true crime genre, maybe even making fun of it a little. Remember how you were saying you love podcasts that keep you guessing? This might be one of them.
Yeah, and a commentary on true crime, that's definitely up my alley. But, like, why all the time travel and magic? Why not just, make a straight-up parody?
Maybe because by throwing in all this weirdness, the time travel, the magic, they're making us think about it in a different way. Like, why are we so drawn to these dark, messed up stories anyway? Are we really looking for answers or just a thrill?
I mean, you've got a point there. Okay, so we've got a maybe not so silly comedy podcast, but the episode titles, they're all over the place. The ChatGPT episode, Ricky Gets High, even a season 6 update from Homer Simpson, voice acting intern. Are these guys for real?
It's a wild ride, that's for sure, especially that Homer Simpson one. It's like they're tapping into this whole language of memes and pop culture references, Trying to create this kind of shared experience with the listener, like we're all in on the joke.
And maybe throwing in a few curveballs just to keep things interesting. But it's not just the episode titles, right? The guest stars are just as out there. A PP Manadoo in the season 5 finale, and Kai as the cat. Where do they even find these people? Or entities? Honestly, it's like they're pulling these names out of a hat filled with fever dreams. But here's the thing, as out there as all of this sounds, I gotta admit, I kind of want to check it out. That's what I dig about these deep dives. You just never know what you're gonna find.
Exactly. And remember how you were saying you love podcasts that subvert your expectations? Well, Foul Play Ricky seems to be doing that at every turn. It's like trying to solve a puzzle, but the picture keeps changing right in front of you.
So, okay, we've got this long-running comedy podcast, dedicated fans, could be surprisingly deep, might be a satire, and a cast that wouldn't be out of place in, like, a David Lynch movie. But I gotta ask, does it all actually, hold together? Is there some kind of story going on underneath all the weirdness?
That's the thing. From what we can tell from the episode list, it looks like Foul Play Ricky actually does stick to like a serialized format. So yeah, every episode builds on the one before it. There's an actual narrative thread, even with all the crazy time travel stuff going on.
So it's grounded in something, even if that something involves like a talking cat who's also a lawyer. Okay, I can get behind that. It's like comfort food, but, with some sriracha on top.
And you know what else is interesting? It's all told from the perspective of Ricky, right? Our, how'd you put it? Loose cannon detective. But given how bizarre everything else is, I mean, how do we know if we can even trust what he's telling us?
Oh, for sure. He could be leading us all on a wild goose chase, and we're none the wiser.
Which, honestly, might be part of the fun, right? Foul Play Ricky could be this big meta commentary on, like, unreliable narrators making us question everything. Like, even when things are totally absurd, there's still room for critical thinking.
So, okay, if you're thinking about giving Foul Play Ricky a listen, what can you expect? Well, first off, get ready for anything because this podcast throws curveballs like it's going for the world record.
And don't forget to pay attention. Sure, on the surface, it might just seem like a bunch of random jokes and weirdness, but there's actually some clever stuff going on under the hood. Who knows, you might end up cleaning your bathroom and having an existential crisis at the same time.
And if you do, leave a review. But anyway, until next time, happy listening. And remember, sometimes the strangest paths lead to the most interesting places.